Alrighty. So first of all, I do apologize the fact that this review is a day delayed. I was supposed to do it yesterday, but I had some errands to run that I just weren't able to have enough time to do the review yesterday. But as the old saying go, it's better late than never when it comes to doing the review and look at the remaining Saturday game that happened in match week number 2. And we definitely saw a couple blowouts in some of these games, a couple of games that were not close whatsoever, and one of them is the first game I'm going to talk about, which is the Quakes and Atlanta United. So, last season, when I predicted that the Vancouver Whitecaps would finish dead last, they ended up finishing second in the Western Conference. Now, I'm not saying that this year, with me predicting the San Jose Earthquakes to finish dead last in the West, it means that somehow magically this team will get themselves second in the standings. And there's no doubt that I will still say that as good as the start is for the Quakes, we'll see what happens when they do face against some better opponent. I think these next couple of games will really be a telling story to see how whether or not if the Quakes are for real or not. Because so far, when you look at the two teams that they face, yeah, they're not really world beaters in terms of getting the victory against Sporting KC and Atlanta United at home. Now, in the first half, Jones would hit one right to Hoyos before Judd would miss wide from close range. He then hits one right to Hoyos not long after, as the Quakes were on the front foot early, trying to press hard to get the opener. Hoyos would then deny Kikanovic in the near post. The shots were 4-0 for the Quakes 15 minutes in, so they were all over Atlanta up to this point. Ricketts would then flash one wide from long range. Azadi with Atlanta's first shot, but he missed wide from long range. But then the 24th minute, Quakes gets the opening goal. It's Preston Judd. He scored from Ricketts to make it 1-0 in favor of the Quakes, and you just kind of had a feeling that that was coming. I mean, the Quakes were pretty much dominating for the first 25 minutes of this game. And also, yeah, leaving Preston Judd wide open was definitely a choice for Atlanta United. And I've said this last week as well. Whenever you leave a number 9 or opposition number 9 wide open in the box there, you are basically asking to get score on. And there you go. Atlanta makes that crucial mistake. And just like that, the Quakes took advantage. They were 1-0 up. Buddha then looked for another, but he puts it over. And all the good work that I thought Atlanta did last week against Cincinnati, it was nowhere to be found in this game. I mean, they definitely didn't show up in this game whatsoever. This looked like the Atlanta United of last season under Rodney Delia, who looked like a team that is just spinning the tires. Buda would then hits it wide from the corner, but we do head to halftime with the Quakes leading 1-0 and pretty much absolutely dominate the first half. But still only 1-0 up to this point. In the second half, not much happened to begin the second half. Hoyos would deny LaRue in the front post. There was a big standing ovation as Timo Werner was checking in for the first time. I was actually surprised the fact that he get a chance to play in this game as well. I didn't think the paper would be done so quickly that, yeah, there you go. Just plot him straight in to this team. In fact, I thought James Rodriguez was going to make his debut sooner than Timo Werner does, and obviously James Rodriguez didn't make his debut with Minnesota. And before you ask, it was the right call that Knowles did in terms of not putting Timo, or not Timo, but James Rodriguez in there as well, because the Loons were closing out the game. There was no need for them to put an attacking player up to that point. This was a different scenario where, because of the fact that the Quakes are just so dominant up to this point, you might as well just bring your German superstar into this game. And yeah, definitely a big standing ovation when he was introduced. And little do we know, he would have a big impact in this game as well. Though in the 70th minute, Jaqueras thought he made it 2-0, but the flag did not agree with him as the goal was disallowed for offside. The Quakes are getting close to the second goal, but now the question is, can they do so to kill this game off? They do in the 79th minute, as Usani Buda would finally score here, and he deserved one too. He had a really good game in this one. He scored from Werner and Skagen to make it 2-0 in favor of the Quakes. And yeah, like I said, Timo Werner making an instant impact, just a world class setup from Werner as well. If this is something we're gonna see from him, I think the Quakes are definitely in some good hands on the attacking end. He basically sets up a tap in for Buda to make it 2-0 in favor of the Quakes. Buda then looked for another one, but he hits this one high before Daniel denied Almiron on a rare opportunity for Atlanta up to this point. But yeah, in the end, pretty easy win. 2-0 win that the Quakes had against Atlanta. Shots in this one, 12 shots for the 8 that Atlanta has. 1 shot on goal for the 6 that the Quakes had. 6 shots off target for the 3 that Atlanta has. 3 shots that was blocked for the none that the Quakes had. And possession-wise, 54% possession for the 46% possession the Quakes has in this game. And like I said, for Atlanta, all those good work that they did in that game against Cincinnati, looking threatening on the attack, it was nowhere to be found in this one. And it just kind of showed you the fact that, yeah, for Tata Martino, he has his works cut out in terms of trying to revitalize this team, because it is pretty clear that once again from this performance alone, it looks like they're still stuck in 2025, and the issue with this team is all to see in terms of the fact that both the defense has been pretty poor throughout last season. That was the case in this one, and then on the attack, that $50 million attack, it was nowhere to be found whatsoever ever in this game. I mean, when you of course get shut out by the Quakes, a team that have given up a lot of goals. Which, by the way, the Quakes, I believe this is now their second straight shutout to start the season. I don't remember the last time the Quakes have had back-to-back shutout as well. In fact, the word shutout involving the San Jose Earthquakes feels like once in a blue moon because of how bad their defense has been for the past couple of years. So yeah, again, that's saying something in terms of you getting shut out by the San Jose Earthquakes. It's pretty clear that you're probably not going to be a very good team this season. And for Orlando, like I said, for Tatami too, he has his work cuts out in terms of trying to get this team back to where they were a couple of years ago. But that being said, moving on, in the next match is Sporting KC versus Columbus. So I know it's just two games into the Henrik Rydstrom era, but there's got to be some concern if you're a Columbus fan. And I think the biggest concern for Columbus, has to be on the defensive end. It is pretty clear that their defense have not been good whatsoever in their first two games. And I've said this before. I feel like the Darlington Navy loss is now hurting this team even more than we thought they would. I mean, we talk about Darlington Abbey being such a glue in that number 6 position and really protecting the back line. Well, now that he's no longer on this team after announcing his retirement, yeah, that defense is just getting absolutely exposed so far in these first two games. No, the first 20 minutes, yeah, if you missed the first 20 minutes, it's okay. Not much really happened. The first shot of the game did see Schulte deny Bartlow from the corner. The shots were still only 1-0 30 minutes in, so it was a very slow game to start this one. The first shot for Columbus did see Abu Ali heads it high from close range, but then just a minute later, he would score to make it 1-0 in favor of Columbus. And just like last week, where Abu Ali was the precedent of a player getting a gift from the opposition turning the ball away. Yep, this time it's the same thing again. Sporting KC turning the ball away in a bad spot. Abu Ali pounce on it, and he buries that one to give Columbus a 1-0 lead. Suleimanov then looked to answer, but he puts it wide on the free kick before Rossi, which struck the post, but then it falls back to Gastak. He had a chance to put that one away, couldn't do so as he puts that one over. But we do head to halftime with Columbus leading 1-0. That lead lasted only 3 minutes because in the 48th minute, Joveljic would score from Davis and Harris to make it 1-1 in this one. Something tells me, yeah, Joveljic is literally the offense for this Sporting KC side. They're hoping that he's going to be the guy that carries this because, yeah, they don't really have a lot, at least on the attacking, especially after losing Daniel Shaarawy. Just like majority of the first half, though, not much really happened besides the goal as well. Though, that being said, in the 72nd minute, Joveljic would score again. So that made it 2-1 in this one. Who is the Sporting KC side? Because this definitely did not look like a team that were a wooden spoon team. They were really neutralizing this Columbus attack, which I thought that was kind of impressive considering this is supposed to be one of the better attack in the league heading into this season. Zaswatsky then looked to answer, but he heads it right to Postgame. Then Joveljic did look to try to get the hat trick, but he missed wide in the 78th minute. But then in the 82nd minute, Diego Rossi would score to tie the game up at 2 apiece. And then they got a penalty relatively quickly. They go to VAR to see whether or not if Ian James brought down TRA in the box. He did. So they go to the spot here. Here comes Abu Ali, a chance to give Columbus the lead here. John Postgam said no. He denied him from the spot here in the 87th minute. Wasn't really a great penalty from Abu Ali, so the game remains 2 apiece. Abu Ali did try to make amends a couple of minutes later, but he missed wide on the header before Picard would hit it right to Postgame in the fourth man of stoppage time. And yeah, despite the late push that Columbus had, they were held to a 2-2 draw in this one. Shots in this one, 8 shots for the 10 that Columbus had, 5 shots on goal for the 4 that Sporting KC had, 1 shots off target for the 2 that Columbus had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Sporting KC had, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that Sporting KC has in this game. And like I said, there's got to be a lot of concern if you're a Columbus Crew fan. I mean, I know it's easy to overreact after just 2 games, but when you are getting held to a draw against Sporting KC, a team that looked like we're dead on to be a wooden spoon team after the performance that they had against the Quakes. Yeah, that's not a good look. And it's not often I say a team that go on the road and get a point is a bad point, but yeah, when you're facing against a team that looked like it's going to finish at the bottom of the West. There's got to be some concern. They have to figure something out at least on the defensive end because they can't be like this if they want to consider themselves to be an Eastern Conference contender like what I thought that they were going to be under Henrik Reichstrom. So yeah, we'll see whether or not if they of course will focus more on that. And for Sporting KC, hey, even though they didn't get the win in this one, they'll be disappointed that they did give up the lead late in this one. At least they look a whole lot better in this game compared to the game against the San Jose Earthquakes. And that's all I think Sporting KC will ask with this team, with the way that this team is still in the midst of a long rebuild heading their way as well. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is LAFC and the Houston Dynamo. So I definitely heard a lot of complaints about refereeing this decision, especially that red card that what was happening involving Sung Hyun Min, which we'll definitely talk about that in just a bit. But in the first half, Palencia with the game's first shot, but he missed wide there before Bawanga would puts it over from close range. LAFC no doubt was the better team early on as they were looking to try to get the opener. Though Luis denied Carlos on the header in the 7th minute. The shots were four apiece early in this one, as it seems like Houston started to get themselves back into this game. Sung would then hits the side netting from close range before Bond denied Bawanga, but it falls back to Sung. But he was also denied by Bond in the 36th minute. Jonathan Bond was pretty good in this game as well. And this is kind of the thing with Jonathan Bond. He's kind of a very inconsistent goalkeeper. He will have some of these games where he's very good, and then there's also games where he can't make a save whatsoever. But there was no doubt that LAFC was knocking on the door. The question is, can they solve Bond? Up to this point, Bond was definitely up to the task. Guilherme would then puts it high from long range in the 43rd minute before David Martinez would miss wide from close range. And then this is where we get to the controversy of the game. So again, I have heard a lot of Houston Dynamo fans not happy the fact that this was a red card on Antonio Carlos after he kind of seems like he made a challenge there on Sung Hyun Min. I mean, he kind of stepped into him from the back, and some Dynamo fans feel like that is soft. I mean, I look at it a couple of times on the replay. I mean, yes, you could maybe say that maybe it's Sung Min maybe kind of sold it a little bit, but still, at the same time, with the way that how Carlos kind of stepped back like that, when you of course do that, especially from behind the back, I have seen that being called a red card as well. I do think that at the end of the day, that can definitely be up there. I would also say that might be seems like an orange card as well. Well, and if this of course does happen in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, probably that would be a yellow card. But how many times I've said before, just because we see a challenge that is reckless in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, maybe be called as a yellow card or an orange card. Yeah, I said many times that in MLS I wouldn't be surprised that that would be a red, and this of course is the case. So yeah, Houston were down to 10 men. I know Dynamo fans will immediately go in the comment section and disagree with me, which I'm perfectly fine. I don't mind if people go in the comment section if they disagree my opinion in some controversial calls that we've seen throughout the MLS season. But we do head to halftime, scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, the post would deny Bozart after Lloris just hits this one straight to him. Yeah, that is a huge mistake there from Hugo Lloris, and he must be kissing the post. The fact that it saved him for an embarrassing howler, and that would also be huge because in the 56th minute, LAFC finally found the breakthrough. It's Mark Delgado. He scored from Sung and Bawanga to make it 1-0 in favor of LAFC, and while it was a great strike there from Mark Delgado, I mean, you got to question the closing down there from the Houston Dynamo. I mean, Delgado got pretty much a red carpet to shoot that from the top of the box there, and yeah, you definitely need to question that there probably should have been better closing down there in the Dynamo perspective. But then in the 76th minute, another red card was shown for the Dynamo, and this one is no discussion. It was a pretty clear dock, so that Bozart commit there. So the Dynamo were down to 9 men up to this point. Tillman would then puts it wide from close range, and with the 2-man advantage, LAFC they smell blood. They're looking to try to seal this game up. And they do, as in the 82nd minute, Estacio would score his first career MLS goal from Delgado and Sung to make it 2-0 in favor of LAFC, and it was an absolute banger from Stefan Estacio. I mean, definitely a goal of the week contention, in my opinion. And Ellie did look to answer, but he was denied by Lloris before Bond would tip Estacio shot over in the 88th minute. Bogusz would then puts it high from close in the 90th minute. It was kind of an off night for Mateus Bogusz. I was kind of expecting more from him, especially when he's facing against his former team, but really didn't have too much impact in this game. But you also got to give credit to the Dynamo because even though they're down to 9 men, they're still trying. They're still getting some good chances. Maybe set up a very nervous finishing for this game. Bond then denied both three from close in the second minute of stoppage time before Sung would slash one wide from close in the 6 minute of stoppage time. But yeah, in the end, LAFC does get the 2-0 win in this one. The shots in this one, 18 shots for the 12 that Houston has, 2 shots on goal for the 6 that LAFC had, 7 shots off target for the 2 that Dynamo has, 7 shots that was blocked for the 4 that LAFC had, and LAFC had more of the possession, 64% possession really just 36 that the Houston Dynamo has, which is not surprising. I mean, when you're up a man for pretty much the entire half and then up 2 men for the last 15 minutes of the game, you're gonna definitely dominate the possession. That's kind of what LAFC did in this one. So good win for LAFC. And again, I know Houston Dynamo fans will be very upset in terms of the decision that gone against them, but overall, I feel like LAFC was the better team in this one and deserved to get all 3 points. Now, moving on in terms of the next match, well, would you look at that? I said in the preview the fact that I said this was going to be an exciting game, and then I say, watch how this game is going to end up 0-0. Yep, of course that is gonna happen. Of course the MLS gods probably heard what I said and decided, nah, we're just gonna make this a nil-nil game. And it wasn't even one of those nil-nil game that was entertaining. This was just yeah. This was really the first real dud and the first game that I really think was a huge letdown compared to what I thought it was supposed to be a very exciting game between two good attacking team. In the first half, Musa with the game's first shot, but he hits it high just 29 second in. And again, early on, it looked like, well, it looks like we're for a good one. I mean, there's already a shot just 29 seconds in. Palacios with Nashville's first shot, but he puts it high on the header. Madrigal would then hits it right to Kaludi. The shots were 2-1 for Nashville 20 minutes in, and we would be stuck with just 2-1 shots for a long time. In fact, for the next 20 minutes, nothing really happened for the next 20 minutes, and we were just kind of stuck with just 3 shots in this entire game. Kamungo would then miss wide from close to the 37th minute before Musa would hit one right to Shraki in the 44th minute, and we'd head to halftime, unsurprisingly scoreless between both of these teams because there was only 5 shots combined for both of these teams up to this point. In the second half, Farrington would miss wide from close before Musa would miss wide from close as well in the 59th minute for the first time. Some sustained pressure for Dallas, trying to look for the opener. We then go for another period where not much really happened. Espinoza would then miss wide from close in the 75th minute before he missed wide again from close in the 78th minute. It's also important to note that Sam Surridge did not play in this game as well. So yeah, it definitely kind of affect the Nashville attack a little bit in this one. Though I say that, but Hani Muto was pretty much invincible in this game. It feels like he kind of gone back to his 2023 and 2024 form in this game as well. But there was no doubt that now Nashville was getting some sustained pressure. They were looking to try to get the winner. Pacias would then miss wide from close in the 81st minute, but then in the 84th minute, a red card was shown as Cochran would get his second yellow card of this game. And you're thinking, well, maybe it's going to get excited. Maybe Dallas will push to try to get the win. Julio tried to do so, but he hits it right to Sharkey. And yeah, that was pretty much it. Not much really happened in this one. Even the shots on goal in this one, I mean, it was just relatively easy save by both of the goalkeeper. And like I said, it just I feel like this always happened at least once every year or even once in a while. Where every time I say that an exciting game could happen or a boring game could happen in the preview, the opposite would be the case. Shots in this one, 11 shots for the 7 that Nashville has, 1 shots on goal compared to 2 that Dallas had, 5 shots off target with the 4 that Nashville has, 1 shot that was blocked with the 4 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that Dallas has in this game. And let's just move on to the next game and switch the board as well, because like I said, the less we said about this game, the better. And as I said, now I'm going to switch board and look at the last 2 game, the late West Coast game, to finish up the review for match week number 2, and also the Saturday night action that we saw just a couple of days ago. All right, so now let's talk about the West Coast game, which were not close whatsoever and had the same score line. Starting off with Vancouver and Toronto FC. In the first half, Jackson would hit it right to Gavron, as that was the game's first shot, before White would put one right to Gavron in the 12th minute. Mulo would then put it wide, which actually fooled half of the fans. When that one kind of hit the back stanchion, it kind of had that optical illusion, the fact that it went in. In fact, even the PA announcer thought that one went in, so he sounded the goal horn, and yeah, it was not a goal on the replay. But there was no doubt that Vancouver was putting the pressure early on. They were pushing for the opener. The shots were already 5-0 for the Whitecaps up to this point, and then in the 23rd minute, they got their reward for all the pressure that they've been putting. As a penalty was given to Vancouver, Zimmerman brought down Priso there in the box. So here comes Thomas Muller, a chance to bury it from the spot. He's never going to miss from the penalty spot. He's pretty much automatic, and that's what happened in the 24th minute. So yeah, that made it 1-0 in favor of Vancouver. Muller loved scoring so much that he scored again just 12 minutes later. This time he scored from Laborda and Berhalter to make it 2-0 in favor of Vancouver. And this, I feel like, could be a long night for Toronto FC. And just like what I said about Atlanta, Toronto definitely showed some promise, at least on opening night against Dallas, even on a losing effort. Yeah, they definitely didn't show a lot of effort in this one whatsoever. The defense pretty much not only is non-existent again, but also the attack, there was really nowhere to be found whatsoever. And in the first minute of stoppage time, it would be 3-0 in favor of the Vancouver Whitecaps, as Brian White would score his first goal of the season, and boy did he needed that one. I mean, he's been kind of struggling to start the game. He's been kind of a little snake bitten, but he finally got one here to make it 3-0 in favor of Vancouver, and he can thank Lucas Galvran as well. And I gotta say, I know it's only 2 games into the season, but man, Lucas Galvran, of all the hype that I gave him and all the praise that I think he's looked good, at least during the time he came in when Sean Johnson was not available. Yeah, it hasn't really been doing so well for the young Canadian netminder. This time he misjudged the ball of the flight there from the corner, and he was rightfully punished. What's kind of interesting is this is kind of the same thing we saw with Sean Johnson as well. He did that a couple of times in the game against Austin, so it was not a great night for former and current Toronto FC goalkeeper when it comes to trying to get the ball or trying to jump to get the ball when the ball comes into the box. But we do head to halftime with Vancouver leading 3-0. In the second half, Muller would puts it wide from long range. Not much really happened early on. Vancouver continued to control the game up to this point. The shots were 13-0 for Vancouver 60 minutes in. Yeah, this kind of looked like it was Vancouver versus Dallas all over again, like what we saw in the playoffs last year, where the Whitecaps were just pretty much, it was kind of men against boys in terms of how this game play up to this point. Laborda would then puts it wide from long range before the first shot for Toronto finally happened in the 67th minute, as Showery would puts it high from close range. Takaoka then denied Edwards from close in the 74th minute. Toronto finally realized that, yeah, a game has just happened, and they probably should have realized that for minute one and not minute 67 when they're already 3-0 down. Gavron would then deny White, but again, he gave up a rebound there. He just have not looked good whatsoever in the first 2 games, and White had a chance to bury it, couldn't quite do so. Luckily, the flag, of course, went up, so he kind of saved some blemish there from White of missing an easy chance. Etienne Jr. then tried to chip the keeper, but instead he hits it right to Takaoka, and then Zalbo would hit one right to Takaoka in the 89th minute. Again, Toronto, they finally did something and start trying late in this game, but I kind of had a feeling that was a combination of that and also just maybe Vancouver took the foot off the gas in the last 20 minutes of the game, because I mean they had a 3-0 lead up to this point, and this is not a team that usually blow big lead, and when you're facing against a TFC side that has been lifeless in this game, I guess it kind of makes sense, and it's acceptable for them to take the foot off the gas a little bit. But yeah, in the end, comfortable 3-0 win for the Whitecaps in this one. Shots in this one, 14 shots compared to 5 that Toronto has, 3 shots on goal compared to 5 that Vancouver has, 1 shots off target compared to 3 that Vancouver has, 5 shots that was blocked compared to none that Toronto has, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that Toronto has in this game. And I know some people will say, well, once Jar Sargent does come into this team, he's going to have a good partnership with Mahajevic, which, by the way, speaking of Mahajevic, he was a non-factor in this game whatsoever. I didn't even realize that he played in this one with the way that he didn't offer anything going forward on the attacking end. But I know some people will say, with Jar Sargent being there, maybe that will of course fix something, and it will fix the attack. At least it'll make the attack much more dynamic. But I think the more alarming thing that TFC fans are a little concerned, got to be the defense. I mean, the defense have not been great whatsoever in the first 2 games. And this is after they did some upgrade on the defense. Bringing Walker Zimmerman was supposed to be maybe an upgrade and a veteran present on this team. And yeah, as you probably know of how this game went with Walker Zimmerman committing that penalty early in this one. Yeah, he along with that entire TFC backline was not a factor whatsoever. So that has to be a huge alarm bell if you're a TFC fans. The fact that yeah, that rebuild that we thought that were going to go in the right direction after last season, looking pretty respectable, it's heading the wrong direction, at least in these first two games. That is. But that being said, moving on in the last game of the week, or the last game of Saturday, and the last game I'm going to review this match week is the Galaxy and Charlotte. So this game was over in 13 minutes. I mean, in a span of 5 minutes, the Galaxy went up 3-0 in this one, and it started in the 8th minute with Sanabria scoring here to make it 1-0 for the Galaxy. Peck hits the post here, but Sanabria was there in the right place, right time to clean up the mess. And then just 3 minutes later, Joe Klaus would score. He scored from Peck to make it 2-0 in favor of the Galaxy. He loved it so much that he scored again just 2 minutes later, and it was an absolute gift there. Just a horrid back pass there from Charlotte. I mean, Joe Claus know something about forcing back pass. I mean, he kind of made a living of that during his time with St. Louis. And speaking of St. Louis, I'm pretty sure they kind of miss him badly, especially of how St. Louis have looked in the first two game without a proper number 9. But yeah, just like that, it was 3-0 in favor of the Galaxy, and I thought this could get ugly for Charlotte. And this is also something that the Galaxy have been waiting for a very long time. For a long time, this attack has been just re- really poor to start the season, and that include in the CONCACAF Champions Cup game against San Miguelito, where yeah, it was very stale in that one, and there was a lot of concern. You gotta say if you're a Galaxy fan, but this feels like it might be a game that they can at least maybe brush off that concern a little bit because yeah, they definitely shot out of the cannon, go up 3-0 just 13 minutes in. But if you're Charlotte, I mean, this could be a worse start for you. 3-0 down immediately. Not only has not showed up whatsoever in this one, but now all of a sudden it feels like they're already staring down a defeat before we even got to the start of this game. Peck would then hits one right to Kalina before Sanabria would puts it wide from close range. As I said, the Charlotte defense pretty much MIA up to this point. There's been a lot of games, at least in the later window, where we see defense for one team was non-existent whatsoever. It was kind of a one-sided affair. Klaus then tried to go for a Hattie, and what a Hattie this would have been, trying to backheel this one in, but he hits it right to Kalina. You know Joe Klaus is confident when he's trying to do that. That is a sign of a very confident Bernardes, and he's now already got 3 goals for LA Galaxy after just 2 league games. Kalina then denied Painso from close. The shots were 8-0 up to this point for the Galaxy, and already 6 of them is on target. So this could have got even more ugly up to this point. Mikovic then denied Vargas, as that was Charlotte's first shot before Diani would miss wide from the corner. Kalina then denied Yamane full stretch. The shot's a little bit better in terms of Charlotte perspective. Well, I say that it's not really. I mean, the shots are still pretty lopsided. 10-3 in favor of the Galaxy up to this point, but we do head to halftime with the Galaxy leading 3-0. In the second half, things did kind of tighten up a little bit, at least in the first 5 minutes. Sorrello would then hit at right to Selena before Peck tried to curls this one in, but it goes wide. The Galaxy was pressing hard for the fourth. Charlotte defense still nowhere to be found in this point. Peck was then in on goal there, but he was absolutely robbed by Kalina on a 1v1. And I gotta say, if it wasn't for Kalina in this one, I know he gave up those 3 quick goals in a span of 5 minutes, but this could have been even more ugly if Kalina didn't make some big save throughout this game. Peck would then hits one right to Kalina in the 64th minute. You got to say, if you're Gabriel Peck, you're basically just thinking, what does he need to do to finally put the ball into the back of the net? Like between him and Paint, so well, I wouldn't say Paint so because at least he did score a goal in the Concacaf Champions Cup against San Miguelito, but Gabriel Peck is just absolutely snake bin to begin the season. Nothing seems to be falling right for him going forward in front of goal. We then get some coming together between both of these teams. As you can clearly see, frustration was starting to boil in, especially in a Charlotte perspective. And then in the 81st minute, Lille was 4-0 in favor of the Galaxy when Nascimento put it into the back net. Problem was, Flag did not agree with him there. So, yeah, the goal was disallowed for offside. It remained 3-0, and that would be the final score of this game. So, the 3 goals that we saw in the first 13 minutes, that turns out to be the last goal that we scored throughout this entire game. But the good news, at least if you're a Galaxy fan, they look much better, at least on the attacking end. In this one, I mean that was the big concern. At least at the first couple of games, where what is going on with this Galaxy attack? That on paper, this Galaxy attack should be much better than what they are not really just kind of underachieving the first couple of games. This game, it seems like they kind of at least play up to potential with that 3 goal burst that they had in a span of 5 minutes. Shots in this one, 14 shots for the 4 that Charlotte has. 12 shots on goal in this one. So, like I said, if it wasn't for Kalina, this could have been easily 4 or 5-0 in favor of the Galaxy, compared to just one that Charlotte has. 2 shots off target for both of these teams. 1 shot that was blocked, with none that the Galaxy had. And possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that Charlotte has up to this point. And, again, I know it is still early in the season as well, but if you're a Charlotte fan, you got to be very concerned about the defense. I mean, even in the last game, where even though they gave up 1 goal against St. Louis, they gave up a lot of shots in the last game. And Kalina is just doing a bailout job, at least in these first 2 games, where he has to make a lot of save. I think he's already led the league in terms of the most save throughout these first 2 weeks. And I know the loss of Malanda is definitely huge for this team. And as I said, they're trying to put Privyet and maybe give him a second chance. Maybe he'll win this spot. Yeah, it feels like he's kind of continue to be back to his old form. And with Reem, doesn't really have that steady partner with Melenda like what we saw last season. You can clearly see that this defense are just getting absolutely cut open. And there's no doubt that, yeah, there's got to be concern about that. There's no doubt that I think Charlotte might be even looking to the transfer window, or the remaining part, to really strengthen that defense, because I know the loss of Melanda was definitely going to be big for this team. I didn't think it was going to be this huge. The fact that defense that Charlotte have shown in the first 2 games is just night and day compared to what we saw last season, when this was supposed to be one of the better defensive team in the league. And that's kind of always been the case with Dean Smith's side. Dean Smith's side always tends to be good on the defensive side. This season, it just have not been that case whatsoever. But there you have it. That is pretty much it. Looking at all of these games to finish off the review from week number 2. We got a full slate of action coming up as well. But what's kind of interesting about this week, no CONCACAF Champions Cup game to talk about. We at least get a break, at least in the middle of the week, because of that. But we, of course, will get more CONCACAF Champions Cup game returning after match week number 3. That is. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these 6 games I've talked about. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.